If you'd like to get involved, please do email the studio, studio, at salamradio.co.uk. Alternatively, you are listening to 106.2 FM. And if you'd like to get involved in the chat whilst we're live, please use FB Live. Search for Salaam Radio on FB Live and join us on our live broadcast today and right now. Alternatively, you can WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. So this evening, wow, what a journey this weekend has been for us. Here on Salaam Radio, there's been massive changes, massive growth that we're talking about within the Empower Hour. Our organization has just moved to a new level. We have a new style. Boring, as you know, then please do connect with us, communicate with us, and share how we can help you. So today, Tuesday, Empower Hour, we have an amazing guest for you this evening. Her name is Keera. She has unbelievably reinvented women's power and empowerment within herself. See, herself is so humble that whenever I was speaking with her, I was sitting there talking with her just recently, just actually about half an hour earlier, and she hadn't even realized half the things she'd been involved in. She comes from a background within hairdressing in London, in East London, and specifically around the Ilford area. 28 years in this industry working with Toni and Guy. She is one of the oldest and longest standing franchisees of Toni and Guy as a national brand. Nearly 20 years this year. I am so humbled to have Keera on the station today, but before I introduce her live with yourselves, I'm going to say she is such a humble person. She didn't even realize, audience, she had done 200 fashion shows in her amazing expansive career, nearly 3 decades. And when you see her, if you're watching on Facebook Live, you will not believe that she's been in the industry that long. So just to relax the thing and bring everyone in, welcome Keera, welcome to the Empower Hour.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here this evening.
Honestly, Keera, it's our pleasure. We're such a warm local radio station that we're here to help. Our focus in the Empower Hour is nothing but to empower the next generation, to inspire the current business owners and the future owners of our time. So, Keera, 28 years in the industry of you could say, the fashion industry of hair, the best and probably one of the best brands in the country when it comes to Toni and Guy, the hairdressing salons. How was that? How did that happen? I mean, that's such an amazing coveted career. 200 shows.
As you said earlier, when we were talking about it, I wasn't even aware that's what I had done until you started to extract the information from me. And when we sort of talked back over the journey, I started out at school without even making a decision. This is where I was going to be, where I wanted to be. I was in education at a school which wasn't the best of schools to take me to where I thought I wanted to be at the time. Mm-hmm. I have to say that a lot of the students I was at school with are probably not even alive at the moment or are in prison.
Wow. So if I just clarify this, I mean, you've risen from great grief challenges, etc. in your schooling in East London environment. So you're saying that some of your majority of your friends and colleagues at the time in school are either, kind of like passed away or alternatively are in jail of some kind, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anyone out there, any kids are listening, if it is anything that's an issue to you, I just want you to know that's not enough reason for you to feel that you can't progress and continue being where you want to be.
Wow, what a beautiful message. So if anybody is listening, the reality is there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Do get yourself out and do assist yourself and stay positive. Connect with people if you can. And And it's not anybody's particular fault. It's actually just individual journeys in life. That's what we all believe here on the Empower Hour with Sukhi. So my suggestion would be is just to seek help. Some people obviously have the natural inclination to be super strong and tough internally, but that doesn't have to be the only way to progress. I mean, Keera, yourself, how did you move yourself further forward in this space? Because you're an unbelievably successful entrepreneur in this current day. Even though you may not agree, I appreciate that, but we do, and that's what we're all about here on Empower Hour.
I think the belief in me was that regardless of whatever I did, I was always going to be the best at it. So that was my decision that was made in my mind from a very, very young age. It was something that I'd been raised with by my parents, by my father in particular. Whatever profession you choose, irrelevant of what that profession is, make sure you're the best at that profession. What
a message. Make sure you are the best at whatever you choose that you want to do. And there's no restriction, is there?
There's absolutely no restrictions. There's no judgment on what you do. There's no judgment whether you're a barrister, an academia, or a hairdresser, as such as I'm referred to. Just be the best at whatever your profession is.
Wow. Now, Keera, there was something that we were talking about earlier on, and it really, really inspired me to understand that a lot of the children of this today and age, if they went and said that they wanted to become a hairdresser, I'm not sure whether they'd have the response or, should I say, the encouragement, because I think the hairdresser is a very, very respectable profession. So what was your journey like? Did you get the support from your family, or did you get lack of support? Were you deterred from being a hairdresser?
I now look back and I realise how fortunate I was. My biggest supporter, my biggest fan was my father. So when I mentioned to him that I was going to do hairdressing in college, now we're talking going way back in 1985, and this
don't look old enough, I'm telling you that now.
And he was the first one that said to me, right, this is what you want to do. Let's look at how we're going to achieve this. And he sat there with our trade journal called the Hairdresser's Journal that many years ago and started researching on my behalf to make sure I became what I wanted to become.
What a blessing. What a sincere blessing. Now, it's very seldom that you hear that a community, I'm talking about basically 1986. So some of the listeners on this, on the radio station today on 106.2 FM, you may not even be old enough to remember 1986, 87. And I don't mean that in a vindictive format. I'm just saying it's such an inspiration to understand that Keera had a great support mechanism and a support network. But even if you're listening, don't worry, because it's a matter of getting whoever supports you, but without actually getting what we call the disagreement from your parents. Nowadays we can inspire our elders to actually understand that it's our journey that we're trying to achieve in life, right? So back to yourself, Keera. What was it like when you first started off in this industry? Because honestly, 28 years, 200 shows in this industry, and you're not even noticing it, because from speaking to you, you're truly an individual who has what we classify as a get it done attitude, and you live very much in the present, hence why you didn't spend much time thinking about your journey here. When I heard you, it was just an absolute must to have you on our interview. So please tell us a bit more about how your journey was. What did you find as a challenge, and how did you overcome it?
I think one of my challenges that I actually found was when I joined the industry after my qualifications at the college, was finding myself in a male-dominated industry. The first placement that I had in our team was probably a team of 40 people, 37 of them being male and 3 of us being female, and having a child of a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. That was my biggest challenge.
37. So was it that different? Was it that's
it's
such a heavy
predominantly
ratio?
Male industry that I was at the time, yeah.
And the fact that you had 2 beautiful children at the time.
Yeah.
And so how was that seen within this community? And because usually when we say, when we talk about hairdressing in specific, we don't necessarily think of masculine, tough, orientated men who are running these industries. And I was very surprised to learn that is the case.
Exactly, that is the case. And in all honesty, that's exactly what made me decide and realise I will continue to do what I'm doing. And they inspired me. They pushed me. They made me go along to where I am. And I have to say, they are still my greatest friends today.
Now that's testament to yourself as well, because obviously you didn't use it as an abrasion and push them back, which is accidental in some cases, but it can happen. But actually what you did is you used it as a leverage or some kind of what we call propulsion we call it an away from propulsion, and we say that it just propelled you further forward, right? So working with the industry, I mean, how you started working in the original Toni and Guy direct owned stores. I mean, today, how many stores are there?
It's 480 worldwide.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so in England, I mean, there'll be a seldom city that hasn't got a Toni and Guy franchise somewhere inside it.
Absolutely.
Even our hometown here in Peterborough, we actually have quite a long heritage of having a Toni and Guy franchise here as well. So the question I ask yourself is that, how did you find it? You know, firstly, working within the organisation. So I know they're very, very strict in how they evolve franchisees.
Our education is very, very bespoke. The education of Toni and Guy is what makes us successful in what we are. And each franchisee is selected by Toni. We're handpicked to who he decided would be running his stores as franchisees. So it's a really interesting journey, and he had to be the best of the best.
Mm-hmm. And how did you find it?
I found it, I suppose, as you said earlier on, because I lived in the present all the time, I just did what I did every single day, and I just loved, enjoyed every single second of it. I didn't even really think it was a journey or I was getting to somewhere. I just got there.
So could I say it was something like, tell me what to do and let me get it done?
Absolutely.
That's the kind of nature?
Absolutely.
Great. And one thing I've understood and I've heard that along your journey, you haven't been just about Keera. You now, obviously, for 20 years, have a very successful, I believe it's in Ilford?
Yes, that's right.
Ilford High Street, a very successful franchise of Toni and Guy. What are you doing to assist your staff to progress? You know, and maybe other people in the environment, in the area. Do you do anything extracurricular to help individuals?
Because I am born and bred Toni and Guy throughout my career, of course I deliver the same sort of education to every single one of my member staff that come to the salon. We take them on from the age of maybe some of them as young as 15 while they're still at school, Saturday staff, right the way through to their final careers, and they will be mentored, particularly by myself personally, from their training of their education of Toni and Guy cuts and the way that we work, down to assisting me on shows, assisting me on photo shoots, taking them along to London Fashion Week with me. So virtually wherever I go, whatever I do, I'll have one of them with me, and I've mentored every single one of my own members' team in the salon.
So I suppose you've got a very long list of people who want to work with you.
We do have a lot of people, and they've all stayed with us for a very, very long time.
Great. And I've read a bit about your bio, and I haven't shared too much of this right now, but this is quite a very touching scenario to myself, but you mentor and coach quite a lot of people.
Yes, I do.
And would you mind just telling us a little bit about that? I mean, who are the people you try to mentor and how you coach them? Do you meet them regularly, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we obviously have our assistants that are employed by us, and we mentor those all the time. However, we also have lots of people that come from charities where there might be some girls that have lifetime carers for their parents, so they just want to get into the industry. They want to have some sort of access to the outside world other than what they live in. We'll ask them to come along and spend some time with us in the salon as much as time they want. We take work experience students from other colleges. Anybody that wants to have a taste of what there is and they're not sure what it is, we'll take them in our salon and we'll mentor them, and we always make sure they leave with a certain amount of skills, be it for a day, be it for an hour, be it for 2 hours.
Now, I'm not sure if the listeners are really inspired by that, because I believe with success comes a great deal of what we call responsibility to pass on what the God-given or universe-given knowledge is, and actually share with other people, because that's our real message that we leave here. We could call it the legacy. So, this is just amazing to hear that somebody who's been very super successful in their own life as they're going through being a parent, going through marriage, having challenges which we haven't spoken about too much at the moment, but being able to overcome this and still be a shining star in helping other people ignite their own lives and worlds. Keera, just a personal question to yourself, and I respectfully say that I really do like your character, and I think it's been an inspiration to have a discussion with you just before our live show. What does helping other generations, the next generation, or people of what we call challenged current status, or even people who are looking after full-time caring of their parents, what an amazing journey for them that is. What does it give you? How do you feel about this?
It gives me a purpose. It gives me a purpose in life. It gives me a reason. It gives me a reason for what I do. And it just makes everything easy for me. It's not a chore. It's not a job.
So you don't really care in that context. When you get into that vibration, that buzz, should I say, that purpose in yourself. Do you work long hours?
I work long hours. I can do up to about 60 hours a week. If I have to stay to the very end to help anyone, I will do.
So if I said to you in a warm way, who out of your mentees, without giving their name, of course, who out of the mentees have actually given you one of those, the strongest vibration pull on your heart? And could you share a little bit about their story, about how they got where they were, where they came from? Does somebody come to your mind if this happens in thought?
I'd probably say there's quite a few of the students that we've sort of had come through us, and the utmost admiration I have for them is the fact that they've come from backgrounds where they've not had the support, they've not been able to do what they want to do, and their parents haven't been able to support them for whatever reason. However, they have shown up every single day in my salon and stood there for 9 hours a day just to make themselves better. Of course I'm going to be there right by their side.
Wow. So when people start with you, is that commitment really hard to ignite? Or is it something that just comes naturally because of the way you are personally? But I'm not sure.
It comes naturally to the girls that come through the door, or the boys. And you can see that the minute they walk through the door, because they've made a decision that they're going to isolate. All their friends are still probably at school, and they're the ones that are still working all the hours that they are. They're probably not on very much money at the time. All their friends are out partying at the weekend, but they've decided to give up their weekends and come to work on a Saturday. So when they have that drive, it's a two-way street then.
And do you find that the commitment really shines?
The commitment really shines because those students that have been with us will probably be with us for about 10 years minimum.
Oh, wow. 10 years?
10 years.
So this isn't like just a Saturday scenario where you've only been there for like maybe a 3-month or a 6-week program. It's actually a possibility that they can actually get full-time work from you.
Yeah, it's a career. It's a lifestyle, and we're seeing them to go on to have their own families, to have their own homes, to have their children, and come back to work for us, and then continue after taking the maternity breaks. So we've become a whole family. It's a whole hub.
Do you know what? I don't know whether the listeners are getting the vibration that I'm feeling right now. Being able to touch and change a human life at that level when nobody's asking for hand-me's or hand-me-outs, as we call it. Everybody's actually just looking for their own dignity and strength and just wanting to stand up and have that opportunity. For that, on behalf of Empower Hour, I truly commend that. It's such a beautiful energy that you're delivering there. My inner question within myself, do you find that actually getting the students, the individuals who are coming forward, do you find it hard to find them and select them, or is it something that anybody comes through, or is there an agency that does it for you?
No, it's anybody that comes through. We generally, all we require is enthusiasm and want and a commitment. Apart from that, we can deliver everything else to them. So
how would somebody get in touch with you, is what I'm trying to say?
They would contact, we've got our Toni Guy Facebook. They can contact our salon, which is Toni Guy Ilford, on 0208 514 7700, and we'll happily arrange an interview, or just pop into the salon, Ilford High Road, and we'll have an informal chat with you.
Amazing. So have you still got contact with some of these individuals or children at the time? Because obviously, like we're talking about people maybe 10 years on, are they still connecting and friends with you? And do you have like a little family community? I can see it vibrating in you, so I'm asking the question.
Yeah, we're all still in touch. Every single one of us still in touch. Just very recently we had one of the chaps that had gone off to Ireland, and just out of the blue he popped his head around the corner to say hi and thank you. Every single member has been in touch with us consistently.
So Keera, a question to yourself. We all have our favourites, right? But is there a story that really resonates with you?
A story. I think each one has a very, very individual story to them. A lot of them are humorous. A lot of them are quite sad. That's become quite good. It would be really difficult to pinpoint a particular one. Anything
that resonates with you in your mind? And
resonates
the biggest change, somebody who had absolutely, you could say, every challenge in the world. Because this is about empowerment.
Yeah.
This whole episode is a standalone program that's just wanted to inspire the next generation and move them forward and show people that there is light at the end of the tunnel. They may be having hard days today, or they may have just come past through some hard days, but we're here to try and just share an amazing story. You've come all the way from London. If anybody would like to get in touch and communicate with us, you do not forget, please, WhatsApp 07745 278 978. And what we're trying to do here is just trying to allow individuals who may be listening to this, who might be inspired by this and think, well, A, I'd like to have a career change, or B, maybe they have things that they thought were hampering them in their life, holding them back, because looking after an elder or a parent is really something special. But it can get the better of you as well. It's not just a normal process to say that I can continue with my life in the same vein. Sometimes you need a venting and a bit of self understanding as well. So my question is that, what's the worst, the extreme change that you've ever experienced with an individual?
I would say probably the extreme change I've seen is where some of the kids have come along with parents who are alcoholics. Yeah.
Yes.
Possibly drug addicts, but however this particular person has made that choice to change it, and we're really fortunate that we're in a creative environment. So when they come into our environment, it's so creative, it takes away all of what's going on at home for them. It's taking them into a whole new world, and also giving them a skill at the same time, and the skill that they leave with is a lifetime skill, which is always going to make them be able to earn money wherever they go, however long they are doing the skill.
Wow. That's amazing. So my correlation that I understand there, Keera, is that individuals who would usually probably follow maybe a parent in this space of being alcoholics. So, by the way, this is a journey. This does not vindicate. It does not separate those individuals, because everybody has a reason for their life journey. And we all believe within all our faiths and understanding that there is a journey that's been set out for us. So it's not to isolate or to create any kind of bad vibration around somebody who has having this challenge, the problem at the moment. But the reality is that the children, the individuals, have chosen to step up and move themselves forward. And more importantly, that they've chosen kind of like to utilize that excess ventilation of maybe a bit of aggression, maybe a bit of frustration, maybe a bit of self-doubt, and actually become creative. We all understand that being creative has its own, I think the word we look for is its own way of healing individuals. Do you see that in front of you?
Yeah, it's almost like a therapy for them. So it's a therapy, and it also allows them to be that they have a skill. It allows them to bring out something in them that they feel they're very good at, which is their own identity. And it's not an identity they have to fit into.
Superb. How, I'm going to come back to identity if I may, but have you found that individuals who have worked with you, because I'm really pushing on this because it's such commendable activity that you're delivering, and I take it that you're doing this out of your own goodness of your heart as well. Have you found that when possibly one person's taken that step into greatness, to actually become a creative and actually learn a new skill for themselves, has it affected the rest of their family as well? I mean, for example, has it had a rub off on the rest of the family? Maybe younger siblings, maybe older siblings, or possibly even has it brought their financial status up within the family? Have you seen that?
Absolutely, 101%. It's certainly affected, not so much about siblings I've not come across, but certainly brought their status up. And in fact, I think the biggest thing I've seen is change their parents.
Wow.
So the lesson's been coming from the child to the parent, and they've turned around, they've changed, they've become somebody else.
So the parents themselves have actually moved forward themselves?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I'm not sure if the listeners are getting the same sort of jeebie-jeebers in their body as well, but this is so commendable. I'm not sure. I mean, most people who tend to watch our interviews and in the Empower Hour every Tuesday evenings between 7 and 8, they tend to know me as well as having some kind of connection with the radio station itself. But I think this is something really special as well. So I'm very, very proud to have you on air with us live today. You've travelled all the way from London. You've taken commitment and out of your own time, because I appreciate you have a staff and a team, and you have a business to run as well. So, Keera, just one more question around the family, if I may just touch a little bit. You had all the support from your elders, from your parents, your father specifically, but your mum as well. How did you find the greater community when it came to things such as?
I think the community were quite surprised. I had my friends that used to find it quite humorous at first, thinking I'm a Sikh girl that's become a hairdresser.
Yes, yeah. I understand that.
They didn't kind of think it. They thought it was bravado. They liked it. They enjoyed it. They were supportive. The rest of the community, I think they were intrigued, curious, but there wasn't seem to be any negativity.
So I would say that could that be partially because of the fact that you actually had a positive outlook in life? Because we always see what we choose to see. because if we have a negative outlook in life, we'll probably find those little cracks in the artwork as well. Now, would you believe our first session has been completed? Boy, have we had fun with Keera. And this is the Empower Hour, every Tuesday evening between 7 and 8 in the evening. With myself, your host, Sukhi Wahiwala. I would like to just synopsize how individuals can serve themselves and serve the community to create change. Keera is one of our oldest standing Toni and Guy franchisees, and she has created change in hundreds of people's lives through her mentoring directly. So do stay with us and come back just after the break. It's only going to be 4 minutes, team. It's going to go very, very quickly, and I'd love to have you back in because we're going to talk further with Keera to see what she's up to today and how she's helping even more people in this world. So Empower Hour, please do connect on Facebook Live, and also if you can on YouTube Live, you can watch it straight there, or contact us directly on WhatsApp on 077 45 278 978. See you very shortly. Welcome back to Salaam Radio, the Empower Hour here in Peterborough, our local station, with myself, your host, Sukhi Wahiwala. Yes, from the dynasty of the Wahiwala family, but I'm here to help you empower change within your life every single week on every Tuesday evenings between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. So if you'd like to get involved with our guest this evening, which her name's Keera, and she's one of the forefronted individuals when it comes to the original franchise of Toni and Guy Hairdressers, and on top of which she's been helping next generations of we could say not so privileged children, and she's created change in their world and life as well. So, if you'd like to get involved, please do text on 07745 278 978. And if you'd like to get involved on our, we've got a lot of stuff going on our live Facebook page. Thank you very much. We're talking about Jagbal and a number of individuals, Pavinda, Amgola, just mentioning a few names, people who are supporting the conversation we're having right now. I hope you are enjoying it. So please do share whether you are enjoying it, press the like button, and really excite our shares, the knowledge that we're bringing to this world. So welcome again to our guest this evening, Keera. So Keera, we had some amazing conversation with you just a moment ago, how you're creating change in the worlds of other children, how you're creating worlds in other people's lives, and how it's affecting parents as well who are of underprivileged backgrounds. So a question, if I may, we touched on it a little moment ago, because you have come from a Sikh background and you're in the local area of Ilford, in the area in London. So not specifically in Ilford, that's where your business is. So how have you been? How has your married life been? What's your journey been so far? Did you have any challenges within? You had no restrictions within your immediate family, and we discussed this, by the way, everybody who the listeners. So Keera is very happy to share her journey so far, and please, do share. I mean, was your journey to being a hairdresser and being one of the top foremost individuals who's been revered within the Toni and Guy franchise models, was that easy? I mean, was it straightforward?
It was straightforward in terms of, like I said earlier, it's great support from my father and my mother. And so therefore, I just viewed it as that's normal. That's how things happen. Mm-hmm. So when I came across challenges, it was a little bit hard. And especially when I entered my marriage, that's when the restrictions really hit home. I was restricted to being suddenly told I'm Sikh, I couldn't be a hairdresser. And for me, this was all alien, completely alien. It never occurred to me that even occurred. So that was a massive challenge. However, as I do in present, and I stay in the present, I just continue doing what I did. And my teachings were, it's a way of life, and it's not about the profession you choose. And one isn't judged by what your profession is. One shouldn't be boxed into whatever your job is. You do what you're good at. And I just continue to do that, and I still maintain that today.
You see, now I sincerely appreciate that, because here, as humanity-based, you're changing the worlds of so many hundreds of underprivileged individuals. That's really the true spirituality we're trying to achieve in our life, and the enlightenment. So thank you very much for sharing that. So your children, what do they do? You've got some beautiful children. I mean, are they in the same vein as yourself, or did you try to assist them into a certain environment, or did you just have this knack of flourishing them, let them go?
I think it's a case of just allowing them to flourish and let them go. So again, my teachings to them was a case of whatever profession you choose. Make sure you're the best at it, and I will support you in every which way that you choose to go. And my biggest message to them was that I want them to experience every single possible thing they could whilst growing up, and therefore make decisions in their life based on that. So they've been in the salon with me from a very young age. They've grown up in the salon. That's their home, second home as well. They've learnt skills in the salon. They can manage the salon for me. They can do clients, and they've been very much part of it. However, they've travelled, they've seen the world, and I've really encouraged them to make their own decisions in their professions.
That's truly commendable. So actually, are they with you in the business as well?
They help out in the business when needed. However, they have their own professions.
They have their own professions as well.
Yes.
Wonderful. So I'm going to take the interview to a slightly different direction, because there's a few things that people, obviously, we've just mentioned and touched on, but we need to go a bit deeper. Keira's a very private person. And not only that, she's just not a person who actually calls back on her history and starts listing all of the things that she's achieved in the past with God's grace and blessings. 200 shows, Keira. 200 shows. That is amazing. My question to yourself is, what do you feel about that? 200 shows.
When it's said back to me, I kind of think, is that me you're talking about?
Wow.
When I look, and then I think about the journey, I've enjoyed every single one of those shows, seminars, Milan, London Fashion Week, Milan as well as London. It's just what I do.
So you take it as a with a pinch of salt. That's something to really learn there within the community with our listeners of the Empower Hour with Sukhi. The clarity here is, I just would like you to understand that if you just keep your positivity right, you'll push through all of these sort of challenges in life. But, achievements such as 200 shows. I mean, what does it take, Keira, to create one show, to deliver? I know there's a facet of things that you showed there. You spoke about being involved in the show, being involved in seminars and trainings and education. But what does it take to put on a fashion show, or your...
Yeah, it takes
parade?
an awful lot of work, and the kind of shows that we do are the very high end in terms of like London Fashion Week. Toni and Guy are sponsors of London Fashion Week, so therefore we will do the majority of the shows on each season. There's an awful lot of work that's involved in terms of, we have head of the teams and they do the majority of the work, and I'm part of the session team and I'll be on their team assisting them and working alongside them. So it's a lot of in-depth work that goes months and months of planning.
And is it exciting?
So exciting, so exhausting, but the tiredness is such a happy tiredness.
Such a happy tiredness.
Exhilarating tiredness.
Yeah. And so does anything shine out to yourself over the years? Of course, there's virtually every show has its highlights, but has there been something that's absolutely been the most amazing sort of memory that specifically has been pivotal to your own career path or movements and journeys?
I think the biggest thing is one of the shows that we used to do quite a lot of is called Ones to Watch, and they were graduates of Central St Martin's. So again, it's about the kids, watching the kids come through, and they've suddenly been selected by London Fashion Week to showcase their work. And so to assist them on their hair, watch them put the show on together, that's exhilarating for myself in itself, rather than the larger ones, which are brilliant anyway, but it's the Ones to Watch is my favourite always.
Oh, wow. So just, you mentioned St Martin's. I mean, could you just tell us a little bit about how coveted? I mean, it's a world order, right? Yeah,
to achieve Central St Martin's, to even become a student there, let alone be selected as one of the fashion students, and then to be selected to go to London Fashion Week, it's really commendable.
And it's tough, I assume?
It's so tough for those students, and you can see the nervousness when they're presenting, when they're getting ready for their show. So just being a little bit more experienced and just to give them a little bit of help in terms of their nerves, telling them how great they are, even though they are brilliant. It's a great facet to just doing the hair for their shows.
Well, that's an amazing concept there, because recently I was reading about a couple of 3 months ago, I was reading an article with reference to a Japanese study that was done with children. Now, just so that I can share for the readers, if you may, that if you had a happy, encouraging scenario, or should I say environment, the children were measured in how high they could jump. So they were jumping in a particular mark, etc. And they were exceeding, with compliments, they were exceeding that height. They were exceeding the height they were requested to jump at. But the moment they were given what we call a negative vibration, being told off or said that they could not do that in future, etc., and they were actually, you could say, put away and said, you cannot do this, they turned around and they were then turned around and put back into the same hall and said, can you please jump again? And none of them made that mark. So as children, as pure as they truly are, you saw that a child, just by promoting, just by encouraging, and very much so what you just said there, second, is supporting them to bring the best out of themselves, they start to flourish. And it's amazing to understand that the neurology physically stops you from jumping in high. This is a really, really important thing to remember. So in context of this, I mean, you've done some judging in your past as well. You're a very coveted individual.
Judging in terms of?
Have you done some judging when it comes to fashion shows and stuff like that? Well, I think we even met
yeah.
at a shared La Visage, I think it was early this year, was it? Or last year?
Last year, the Katie Piper Foundation.
Wow. So again, working with Katie Piper, etc., and a few of the companies like that, which really are really powerful to help and assist the next generation as charities. What is it like to be asked to judge?
It's a real honour. I was very pleased and very surprised, to be asked to be one of the judges of a panel that was very high, extreme level of their industries. And it was just fascinating just watching these girls get these looks together. And in all honesty, I learned so much from these girls. It was unbelievable. What
a humble comment. So here you are with nearly 30 years experience in your industry, and not just experience, like coveted experience in the industry. And you judged at the La Visage. I think I judged as well with yourself. I was very humbled by sharing the stage with yourself. And you are what we classify, you were called in as the expert within the hair industry, hair design. And you were inspired?
Absolutely. These girls had inspiration from, I have no idea where it came from. I wish I could have spent more time having a conversation with them and asking them what their inspiration was. But in the hub of everything, just to watch them perform was just inspiring for me.
Oh, wow. So was there one specific hair design that came up and really reminds you? I mean, can you remember any of that?
It kind of reminded me of maybe when I had my first enthusiasm at their age. Yeah. I could kind of see myself in them, but superseded me at that age.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I think that's testament to individuals like this, like yourself, who are the pioneers of the industry, who are individuals who have shared willingly. And in this knowing age of social media, where people can be sitting at home through YouTube and get inspired. So I think the possibilities have increased. I do agree that there is more talent, but I also believe there's more support to talent as well. So it's not necessarily a comparative directly with yourself, because I'm sure you had other challenges to face as well. But what a humble comment, audience, and I think anybody who's listening can really agree with me that today's been a wonderful journey so far, just talking with Keera here from Toni and Guy, and actually sharing how the industry's gone. So just a question to yourself, if I may ask. I mean, we're all waiting to see whether you've actually worked with any celebrities. So, have you?
I've worked with quite a few over the years, and again, if I kind of tap back, probably many that I've sort of forgotten to list. I also worked for a salon which was bespoke to preparing hair for the BBC, for the arts and for the theatre and for film. So we would do prep work for them, ready to be filmed on set. And it was more around the 70s kind of actors and actresses, and I'd say people like Lorraine Chase from Luton Airport.
Oh my God, we remember that
advert, yeah. We had Imran Khan.
Yeah,
he was one of our...
Imran Khan, the cricketer.
The cricketer.
Or the current Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Absolutely, yep.
So you've worked with him?
I've done his hair for him.
And what was that like?
Very interesting, because I didn't recognise him at first.
Oh no, that would have been funny, but I'm sure you weren't that overtly. But yes, please do share. I mean, what was it like?
Well, he was coming in. He was being filmed for something, and literally he was sent to our salon. We had to do his hair, prep him for his filming, and nice chap. And then they used to leave the salon, and we move on to the next person.
So how's that, audience? You're sitting here with somebody in the presence of who sat there and has worked on Imran Khan, who is the current Prime Minister of Pakistan at the moment. So what an amazing journey, hey? Has any more juicy connections with any of these celebrities that we have?
We've finished doing some filming and for front covers of OK Magazine Pakistan, Hello Magazine front covers. So if you look out for those, you'll see them on the front cover. Then we've also got the supermodels, which is Erin O'Connor, Alec Weck, the Jaggers daughters.
Wow.
So we've worked with them as well.
It really is inspiring. Really, really, truly it is. And the question that comes to my mind is, we're talking about an individual who's spent all her time surrounded by celebrities, and they're not just small celebrities, not B, Cs. They're actually A-listers. And she still sits in front of me, being nervous in a warm way, in a real humble way. And more importantly, she's here to try and help. And I think you can all see from this conversation and hear from this conversation how much of a warm character she truly is. Whether she's comfortable speaking in front about herself or not, I'm sure if I asked her to describe somebody else, she'd be like, off on one completely, no problem. But Keera, it's been an honor so far, and I think the audience has been there. If you have any questions for Keera, please do connect. I'm just looking at the Facebook page. Do connect and do ask any questions. Lots of thumbs ups going on, by the way, with us on Facebook page at Salaam Radio, just connected to the Empower Hour specific. That's the show we're doing right now. Now, Keera, I'd like to take this into another way once again. We touched earlier on about identity. Now, do you agree that identity, should I say, the sheer fact that one actually recognizes that they have an identity in this world, is important to success? I mean, is it about the programming? Is it about them actually just experiencing life? Or is it actually about them being facilitated to assist? Or is it all of them?
I think it's all of them. My experience is that most of the people that come my way is because of their programming they've had, their circumstances, and they feel they're boxed into something. They believe that's their identity. And the great thing about my profession that I have is that we are creative, as I said before. And the creativity brings out the identity in that individual without them realising it's coming out of them, which empowers them, which makes them believe in themselves, which makes them thrive, which makes them become the best of they possibly can be.
You know, that's a really important message there, to become the best they can possibly be, that they feel they can be. So if somebody was to get involved in the hairdressing industry today, and obviously you're truly an inspiration of how to get to the top of your game, are there any steps that they should follow? Is it better for them to get an education with Toni and Guy, or is it with their local regional colleges or universities? I mean, what is the journey that, if in this day and age, if somebody listening today wants to be inspired and wants to be like you, how would they go about that journey, please?
Okay, I'm not going to be sounding biased because I've done both routes. I've done the routes of doing the college, local community college, and then I've done the route of Toni and Guy. And I will say your best way to go through it is through the Toni and Guy route. It's the best education in the whole world. Yeah, we've changed the face of modern hairdressing. It's the only company in the world that's done that. So get yourself in there, and your basic steps at home to do is to surround yourself with creativity. Have magazines around in maybe your bedroom, have art pieces around, have things that make you feel happy surrounding you, that will start to ignite you, it start to get your fire going.
And are there any steps that they can take? I mean, specifically with the Toni and Guy operation, how could they get involved with the training there?
You just contact your local salon, and every single one of them will be more than happy to have an informal chat with you.
So just for the listeners today, there is actually a Toni and Guy in Peterborough. I believe it's on the Long Causeway. So as Keira is saying, if you pop in and even give her name, they should know of her without a doubt.
They will. They'll know of me. So just pop in and say, Keira sent me along, and they'll be more than happy to see you.
Wonderful. So Keira, are there any steps that somebody should take when it comes to being the best at their creativity? Because there's techniques to learn. And I understand that there's the understanding of being creative, but it's more than being creative. It's about being a professional. It's about being accurate. It's also about being assertive in your design concept. So is there anything that you could share that has really shifted your own philosophy around creativity in the hairdressing arena?
Right, my take on it is that we can teach you to cut hair, we can teach you to be precision, we can teach you to execute second to none. One thing we can't teach you is feeling. And the creativity comes from feeling, and that feeling has to come from within you to make you the top of your game, to genuinely feel every single thing that you're doing, and not to just work as a structure worker. And that feeling will only be ignited when you become the true to yourself.
So listening to the inner self.
Absolutely.
And do you think that happens automatically when you start working in the creative environment of hairdressing?
Because you're surrounded by those like for like. So that does happen naturally. It may take some time, but eventually it does come through.
And obviously I assume it's also down to the pupillage or the mentoring that goes on in your environment as well, right?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and so if somebody's having a challenge when it comes to their own creativity, are there any ways of overcoming those blocks?
You'd work closely with the trainee, and you start to work out what makes them tick. And that's when you start to give time. It may be simple conversations, day-to-day conversations. You get to know the person, and you start working on that sort of area, and you start to bring them in slowly that way.
So kind of like interests.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
What they feel they're good at.
Yeah, and having conversations of what interests them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you, in any way, do you train any of your internal staff with things such as, psychologies and neurology and stuff? So, because in the retail industry, it's quite a tough game.
We talk about things like an experience in the salon. We talk about how you make other people feel. We talk about how you make your client feel. We talk about how you make each other feel in the salon, how we interact together as people. So we talk a lot about feelings. We throw in meditation in our staff training as well.
Meditation?
Yeah.
Now, where did that come from? From your own journey, or was it
my
something
own journey? I do a lot of meditation. Sets me up on the day. Just gives me quiet time. In such a hectic environment, hectic industry, you need that quiet time.
So would you suggest that meditation works?
The younger ones down to the age of 16 love it.
And so what meaning, do you go through your own processes with them and they take it up and think, wow, this changed?
They'll come and sit in my office and join in with me.
Oh, wow. So do you do this every day in the office with everybody around you?
Whenever I need a break, I'll pop off into the office and have my little quiet time, and there'll always be someone saying, can I come sit and join you?
Do you know what, audience? I'm not sure whether you're hearing what I'm hearing, but actually taking what we call past philosophies of spirit and understanding into the modern workplace, what an inspiration. So did you find, Keera, by bringing this kind of a warmth and self-awareness into your work environment, that actually helped it thrive?
Absolutely. I think that's the success of it. The success of it was purely because it was ownership. It wasn't my salon. It wasn't my business. It wasn't my franchise. It was ours. It's
Like a
our
family.
place. It's a family. It's our place. And this is the reason why all of our team have been with us for minimum 10 years plus.
Wow. So this is just inspirational. Now, when it comes to meditation as a whole, there's a lot of what we call resistance around it, thinking it's kind of what we classify as mumbo jumbo, forgetting the fact that we all have spirit within ourselves. How have you found, as you said, the young generation are taking it on? Do you have any resistance from any particular age to get involved?
I would say the younger ones that are coming through now are the most open to it.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. They're really open to it. They're interested in it. And it may just be a case of maybe they aspire to me. Maybe they take everything I say for gospel and they just want to do everything that I do. But they're really open to it. They ask loads of questions about it, which makes me answer questions to myself as well.
So what you're finding is basically by taking your journey, your students, your employees want to possibly emulate that as well.
Yes, they do. And it seems to be an exchange now where I'm learning a lot from them and they're learning a lot from me. So it's an exchange of learning.
That's a very humble way of seeing it. So in modern business, majority of people get themselves into a position of success and elevation, and somehow accidentally they forget their human ground roots. And in a person who is at the top of their game, to sit there and say that I personally enjoy learning from my past masters and my mentees and my staff, I think that's very commendable. So with reference to this, Keera, I just want to double check something else as well. We did suggest that there was a connection to you assisting individuals to help them get into this kind of industry as well. Now, do you feel after nearly 30 years in this industry that you still have the same love for it?
I do. I certainly do have the same love for it, the same passions there, same drives there. So that's why I know that's the right profession I'm in. It's not just hairdressing, it's a whole lifestyle.
Great. So I'm going to take, with the last few minutes, can you believe it's been that long? And I hope our Empower Our People has sincerely enjoyed having Keera from Toni and Guy here with us from the Ilford branch. And I'm going to share a little synopsis. So an individual who's been from a background of what we classify as a school that had challenges within itself, showing that it's not just your environment, it's you internally. If you can believe in better, then you can achieve better. Stepping up, moving out of that environment and actually assisting yourself, finding the inspiration from her immediate family, irrelevant of whether she moved on into a married family, didn't get the support from them, but actually won them over at some stage and moved on, brought her children into the family business as well, and also not just became one of the best in the industry, but actually pioneered for 27 years in this game, and coming up to 20 years as being one of the first actual franchisees, I do apologize, of Toni and Guy, and delivering over 200 shows. This is truly inspirational. This is what the Empower Hour is about. With Sukhi Wahiwala, we bring individuals who inspire me personally so I could share the journey with you, our audience from Peterborough and internationally. So a final question and a final message, if I may, Keera. Is there something that you'd like to leave with us here tonight for us to consistently be perpetually inspired? There was something you said to me before when we had some quiet time within ourselves, that your dad said that along the lines of that, it doesn't make a difference what my daughters do, they have their own integrity and their own self-awareness about themselves. I mean, could you please just rephrase that as it came through, because it was so inspiring for me to hear.
Well, basically what my father's take on it was, there was oppositions to him when they sort of challenged him and said, your daughter's choosing to do this profession, and he stood and said, well, basically you choose to do whatever you want to do as your profession, as long as you keep your integrity, and I have absolute faith that you will do that.
Do you know what? That is exactly what I see in front of me. This evening has just flown past. We are on our last 30 seconds of our broadcast on the Empower Hour with Sukhi Wahiwala from Peterborough on salamradio.co.uk. I want to share some amazing philosophies that have been shared by Keera, an individual who's running her own business for the last 20 years plus, has truly been an inspiration in a male-dominated industry, and I stood by the empowerment of inspiration and shown how she can be the best that she can be. I'd like to thank Keera personally, and please join us next week here on Salaam Radio